In this lecture, we will examine when to use personal experiences versus fictional narratives to support a speech's message. Both approaches can be effective, but each has its own strengths and limitations. Understanding how and when to use them helps speakers connect with their audience and build credibility. Objectives of this lecture. In this lecture, you will learn the benefits and limitations of using personal stories and fictional narratives in speeches, when to use personal experiences versus fictional examples for maximum impact, how to blend both storytelling methods effectively in a speech, the power of personal stories in public speaking. Personal stories are among the most effective tools a speaker can use. They create credibility and foster a strong emotional connection with the audience. Benefits of personal stories. Authenticity. A true experience makes the message more believable and relatable. Emotional impact. Listeners can connect with real struggles, triumphs, and emotions. Memorability. People remember stories more than data or abstract concepts. Limitations of personal stories. Limited scope. A personal story may not always apply to a broad audience. Emotional vulnerability. Sharing personal experiences can be difficult. Relevance concerns. A story should always connect to the main message of the speech. For example, if a speaker is discussing perseverance, a personal story of overcoming failure can make the speech more impactful. If the speaker lacks a relevant personal experience, a fictional narrative might be a better option. The role of fictional narratives in speeches. Fictional stories or hypothetical scenarios allow speakers to illustrate a point without relying on personal experience. These can be useful in explaining abstract concepts or making complex ideas easier to understand. Benefits of fictional narratives. Flexibility. A speaker can craft a story that fully aligns with the speech's objective. Broader appeal. Fictional stories can be tailored to fit the audience's background and knowledge level. Avoids personal bias. A well-designed scenario prevents the speech from feeling too personal or one-sided. Limitations of fictional narratives, less credibility. Audiences may find fictional examples less convincing than real experiences. Potential disengagement. Some listeners may prefer real-life examples over hypotheticals. Risk of being unrelatable. If not crafted well, a fictional story might not resonate with the audience. For example, in a speech about teamwork, a speaker might create a fictional scenario about a sports team facing internal conflicts, making it easier to explain strategies for collaboration. Choosing between personal and fictional stories. The choice between personal stories and fictional narratives depends on the speech's purpose, audience, and context. When to use personal stories. When building credibility and trust is important. When the audience can relate to the personal experience. When sharing an experience that strongly connects with the speech's message. When to use fictional narratives. When the speaker lacks a relevant personal experience. When explaining abstract or complex ideas that need simplification. When a broader or more neutral example is required. Blending personal and fictional stories in a speech. Sometimes, combining both approaches enhances a speech. A speaker may begin with a personal experience and follow it with a hypothetical situation that expands on the key idea. Techniques for blending both methods effectively. Start with a personal story to establish credibility, then use a fictional example to reinforce the point. Use a fictional scenario to introduce a concept and follow it with a personal anecdote to show real-world application. Combine both approaches when addressing diverse audiences to ensure everyone finds the story relatable. For example, in a speech about leadership, a speaker could first share a personal challenge in leading a team and then introduce a hypothetical situation to illustrate leadership strategies that could be applied more broadly.